A few days ago we did a reprofile on this Kershaw 1079 Outcast. This is an older knife from Kershaw in D2 steel, and had the opportunity to go out with a subscriber's knife here, actually subscriber slash friend, local person, and take his Kershaw Camp-10, which he had gotten some time back, and do a little bit of comparison chopping between the two. The Camp-10 is a 16-inch overall knife in somewhat of a cookery style. Has a nice belly here and a recurve back in this portion for doing detail cutting. 16 inches overall, 10-inch long blade. It's 65 MN steel, which is a low alloy carbon steel out of China. It's a flat grind, full flat grind, and it's a just under 6-inch long handle here. It's got a rubberized grip over plastic. It's got a guard up the top and the bottom. 18.2 ounces. By comparison to the old Kershaw Outcast 1079, they're both 16 inches. They're both 10-inch long cutting edges. This knife is a D2 steel, was a black coated, both of them being black coated. The weight is one of the biggest differences. This one, the older style, coming in at 22 ounces. The newer Camp-10 here coming in at 18.2 ounces, so just about 4 inches lighter overall. Most of that being in the blade weight from what I can tell, and maybe a little bit of a reduction in material back here in the tang, which I'm not sure yet. We'll see if we can get these what look to be torque screws out, maybe about a T20, it looks like T25, and see if we can get this handle off and see what's going on with the tang versus a full rubber tang here on the older Kershaw Outcast. So what we're here is we've done a little bit of chopping, compared the two knives the other day. This knife definitely performed comparable to what I remember the Outcast performing before we did the reprofile on the blade. The reprofile on the blade consisted of the black finish coming off was just a result. That wasn't part of the goal, but we basically went with a full convex grind down, very shallow convex up here at the top, coming down here towards the edge. This is rather an obtuse convex edge in the chopping portion of the blade, coming down right about here, starting here, all the way down to the choil area, which this knife actually has a spot for a finger-choil. But this is a relatively shallow or skinny convex grind, as I would call it. I'm not sure the camera will be able to pick that up, but this transition is very shallow, very gradual coming down, makes detail work, push cutting, feather sticking detail work very, very nice and easy. And then as we get up into here, see if we can show a little bit of the obtuseness of the chopping area there. Additionally, put a 90-degree bevel on this back side here, shaved magnesium off of magnesium rod, and a ferro rod struck beautiful sparks coming off the D2. Did a fair amount of striking, not very much damage. There was powder stains quite a bit here, but they just rubbed off with the thumb. This edge, on this top edge, I'll probably regrind that flat again before we go out. It is a little bit bumpy, a little bit damaged from the ferro rod. Here you can see a little bit of the black paint residual from the grind reprofile. I didn't worry too much about this side because I don't typically strike left-handed. I'm usually striking on a right-handed. So just a brief comparison between the two knives before we get out and start working on the reprofile on this blade. I'm going to do pretty much the same style of a reprofile on this blade as I did on this one, and then we'll go out and we'll compare the steel with a reprofiled edge between the two. The D2 steel held up very well to our chopping that we did the other day. I didn't see any damage, no nicks to the edge whatsoever. And printer paper, which is relatively typical test, nice, even push cutting. Maybe a little bit more significant of a test is the Dex Yellow Pages, and this edge is still pretty sharp. And we'll still push cut even through the phone book paper. So we'll come back to you after we get the reprofile work done on the Camp-10 Model 1077 versus the older style Outcast, which was the Model 1079. Well, the first round of the regrind on the Kershaw Camp-10 is finished. You can see chose not to take the saber grind line out. You can always take off more metal and bring it to a full flat grind in the future, or a convex, just by easing this edge over a little bit. By contrast, the Outcast, the original model, was full flat grind in the D2 steel from the factory, so it was a little bit easier to and natural to reprofile this one all the way from the spine down to the edge. The Camp-10 steel in the 65MN was rusting as I was pulling it out of the coolant water each time. It was kind of interesting. After about 20 minutes of grinding, you could basically just see the little orange rust pitting that was going on in the blade, being that it's non-stainless, very low alloy carbon steel. We were able to get a finger-choil in here. Don't know if that's going to focus in real well, but I think once we get the handle back on, that will feel reasonably good. I'm guessing there's probably going to have to be some work done on the handle, but you can see it is full tang. Let's see about getting this handle back on here, at least temporarily. And there we go. You can see that finger-choil working in to the guard. Yeah, that looks like it's going to work. Probably take this top guard off, round that off, profile it so it's nice for the web of your hand, and then maybe leave this bottom guard in place, just dress it up a little bit to match the ground-in finger-choil. Wound up doing comparable grind as what we did with the older Outcast, relatively thin, flat, convex grind down to the edge here, and a little bit fatter, more meaty convex grind here, a little bit thicker in the chopping area of the blade. A little bit of phone book paper. Get these two screws back in the handle, and be ready to go out with the date with the Outcast.